Hello, kitty. Hi. See if there's anyone around. Try to cancel this. Let me know if there's anybody around. I've had to change the format of the video, purely down to the fact that the internet is rubbish. Hey everyone. Sorry, I had to change up the format, so I'm having to do a live stream off my phone. This is my problem. We have kittens, so coming here is not the best idea, but at least I've got stable internet. So this is the topic here. Answer, ask anything. I know that not many people are going to join in this instance. That was a bit of a mess, that last one. Let's see. All so at the moment we have cat vision. Hello, hello, everyone. Say everyone. There's two of you sat here. So just to let you know, I've had to rearrange my streaming just because of the just bad quality internet down there. It's 1990s speeds, put it that way. Works for general browsing, but didn't think about live streaming, to be honest. Hey, Isotopia, how are you? Oh yeah, got surprised with a 25,000k subs on yesterday evening. So that's where we're at the moment. But the internet down at the other place is a little bit too slow to stream off here as well. So I'm just going to try and get this set up on here. Hey everyone, this is not the same format as last time, but you can still ask me questions, can have a bit of a chat, depending on how busy it gets. If it don't get too busy, I will switch to doing the laptop one again with Cubase on, so we can do a little bit of sound designing whilst we're doing it. But just as explained to the few people that were here before, it's purely down to the internet speed down at studio. So the businesses that I share with don't technically use high speed internet. So I need to have a word and get that sorted. So ask me anything you want. 25,000 subscribers on YouTube. Um, I'll just start with the journey, I suppose. Um, right back in 2013, I uploaded one video, just one, on YouTube. And that's because I started a full-time job out of university. And it was going to be something I was going to do as a hobby. And then all of a sudden, that job came up that took over my life for about 6 years or something like that. And then 2019 is when I kickstarted what I do now, sound designing, started learning that in 2018. And then I'm here now. And I can remember hitting on 2019 on 31st of December, I remember hitting 5,000 subs. So it's been slow growth, but I haven't been focusing on just growing subscribers. It's more about giving you some information that you can reuse and building video series that people like watching. So that sort of stuff. Music theory, self-taught. Everything was self-taught to the point that I'm still self-teaching now. I've just seen a comment on YouTube. I can't remember the name of the person asking for like intermodal changes where we borrow chords from other scales. So we could have the minor scale, but borrow a, I don't know, a major scale chord out of its counterpart. And so we could do something like that. It's always a little bit trickier to teach when it's coming to trance, but we can do something. But music theory, everything is just self-taught. So pretty much self-taught here in this space. This used to be my studio. So it's now like a little, we call it a snug sort of thing. So yeah, everything was learned and self-taught. And then going back to, so do I do trance? No, I do anything really. But my main focus for my shop and my YouTube channel is, it just happens to be trance. Um, how can we put it? YouTube want everybody to be sort of super niche, and that's like how TikTok works. And the more niche you are with a subject, the easier it is to push your content to people that like watching that sort of stuff. So as soon as it's trans, it'll push it out to more people. And I've got a video coming out. I've done one on Patreon, but I've got one coming out on the channel, which is going to be talking about how YouTube's changed now, having to sort of adapt to that, but not make less content, just more based on trance, essentially. But yeah, I've done house music, sort of like progressive in the house genre, all that sort of stuff. Um, Even sort of like the down tempo stuff as well, and orchestral in the past. And fun fact, the first track that I actually heard on the radio in 19, don't know if it was 98 or 99, was On the Beach by York. That's where trance kicked off for me. I just heard that one. That's where I discovered everything to what I know now. But I don't just listen to trance either. So no, I have released my own tracks under my name, but I've not released any professionally since I've been doing this. And that's just, I explained this in the first stream. It's more business focused. So I've been building the business since 2019. Got to survive in this world, and it's just getting crazier and crazier by the day. So you just got to adapt and build on everything. So been focusing on preset building, YouTube tutorials, doing stuff for Cubase channel, Born to Produce, REFX. I've been doing videos for loads of people. So just building that and building the sort of like repertoire with people so I can just do more stuff like that, really. So that's where it's been focused. I haven't really focused on releasing tracks in that case, but that changes this year. I need to polish up some skills. So obviously I've got to seek a little bit of advice here and there, but I've got plenty of tracks that are sort of ready and they just need to be polished. But again, business takes over. As soon as I launch a new product, it gets really hectic and you've got to kind of focus on that. So is the patches production for virtual synths? Are we saying they're difficult? Yeah, so you can once you've learnt the basics of synthesis, you can take a preset from one synth and apply it to another, but they have their own like quirks and things like that. So Vital has got a very different sort of like background audio engine compared to say something like Diva. The approach is different, but the sort of the whole thing is the same thing. It's just really understanding how it works. So there is a little bit of knowledge required when it comes to different synths, but using oscillators, filters, envelopes, it's all the same stuff across the board. So once you know how to create things, you can sort of interchange them between synths. But some synths do it better than others. So that's why we choose different ones, so like Diva and the JUP 8000 or whatever it's called on Arturia. That they're more geared towards that classic sound because obviously the emulations in there, whereas Vital is just a purely digital synth, for example, and like a mini serum. So it gives you that option to learn synthesis easily. What country? UK. I'm in the north of the UK. So the bit where we don't get too much sun, but we've got plenty of it today. But sacrificing some of the sun, obviously, I'm here in the sun at the moment, but in the studio, blind shut. But yeah, the UK. Sound design in trance production. So you don't need to know it. You can just go out and buy presets and get the sounds. If you think about it, most people just buy sounds and then you make great music. So I don't advise sitting down and trying to create your own sounds as you make your track, because that is just counterintuitive. You're trying to learn how to get the sound that you want, but then you fall out of love with the idea. You've got to focus on the idea. You can't be making so when I'm making a pack, I'm not focusing on making a track. I'm just making elements of tracks to test these sounds against each other to make sure they complement and they work. But when it comes to track building, you're actually making a full track. You want to be getting that idea down on paper as quick as possible and using all of your presets at your disposal to do that is much, much better. But if you want to learn sound design, just don't make a track at the same time. Don't try to recreate because you fall out of love with your idea. But sound design is definitely worth knowing as well for tweaking presets. But I wouldn't advise doing it as you're making a track. Learn it sort of separately. That's why my synthesis course exists for understanding Vital. And then I'm doing an intermediate series at the moment as well. So you can obviously progress through the levels and become a better sound designer. And then you can take that to other synths. So Keybase. Oh, it could do with a lot of features. I do like some of the features that are in like the stem splitter in Logic and the versatility of Ableton. If they could bring a little bit more of that into the mix. I do know some of the new features that are coming for the next one. I haven't been told anything, but I've seen. So those they are coming, but stuff like the modulators and the stuff I've done a series. There's actually a series coming out on the Cubase channel. I don't know if it's already started. Looking at the modulators and the drum synth, so you can actually synthesize drums in Cubase 14, which gives you a lot more opportunities, especially in the electronic side, because that was sort of like the main complaint for me. It was more of the, I don't know, let's just say live recording side of things with Cubase, but the MIDI, I don't think is comparable to any other Cubase MIDI editing is obviously the main one. Sorry, just having my feet attacked by a kitten. But overall, Cubase is just what I picked. I've used Reason, I've used Logic, Ableton, and they all have the quirks, and I use them for different things. But Cubase is where it lies. But yeah, Cubase needs a few more things. I think a few more plugins in terms of EQ. Just resizing of plugins, I think, is my main gripe with stuff like that. So it's the whole, like, the plugin's really tiny when you're using a 4K or a 2K screen. Sorry, just got to protect cats from getting hit by the fan. Right. Do I perform live? I have done. Not DJing, but I've done like live music where I've actually set an Ableton setup and done some local stuff around here when quite a few years ago, but I've not done anything since. Again, fell into a job which took over my life for about 6 years, and it was quite rough towards the end. But then I set my own business up, and I've not really done anything live since then. But obviously, I've got to start working up and doing something a little bit different, because obviously I want to do some progression, get some tracks out there, and hopefully maybe do something in the future. But we'll see how it goes first, because we've got a lot of I've got a lot of preset ideas, and I've got a lot of tutorials to record that are going to go on the website. And I've just started getting some merch. I've got mine ordered, should be here by the end of the week. So that's going to be a nice another avenue for people to support the channel if they don't want to buy products, or if they don't want to join in the Patreon and stuff. So it's just that extra option. So struggle with Logic. So it's just about familiarity of your DAW. So if you don't have familiarity with your DAW, it's always going to be more difficult. So if I've jumped into Logic, for example, to build a track, I know exactly what to do, but I'm lacking the key commands in sort of muscle memory. So rather than just being in memory, like the actual muscle memory in the hands, whereas Cubase, I know lots of them off the top. So it's really just learning that particular one inside out. Once you've used one, it'll make more sense. I got so used to Reason, propeller heads, and when I switched to Cubase, I found it extremely difficult to get to grips, because it was just so different, very similar but different at the same time. So just stick to one, and you'll be good. No DAW is going to make you a better producer. It's just whichever one you've got. Just use that, learn it inside out, and you'll be fine. So I used to think this when I was a little bit younger. I used to think that maybe I should be on Ableton, for example, because everyone's using that, or FL Studio. But then you see people like Boris Brazier using Cubase. We've got, I can't remember any of the other people now off the top of my head, but I know a lot of them use Cubase, which is really nice to see. And you can create some great stuff on there. But yeah, so releasing tracks and stuff, yeah, I've got to do that. Maybe I'll do a deep dive on my Patreon of one of the tracks that I'm going to be looking to release. But I've got some big projects in the background that nobody knows about yet. So I'm looking forward to that. It's just performing season and touring season for these people. So I can't really do too much, and I can't say too much till we've got a little bit further, but there is something in the pipe work. So maybe coming up for Black Friday or something, there'll be a nice big launch of a product with some third parties, is all I'm going to say, which should be very good. Oh yeah, the Cubase that people I found are watching my YouTube channel, even if they don't use Cubase, because it still applies to your DAW. It's just whichever one you choose to use, you've still got to learn your side of things, but you can still learn the principles. You can still learn sound design and arranging and layering and all that good stuff. So, yeah, it's a shame that I can't do other DAWs to the capability I do Cubase, but that's part and parcel of what I do. Hello there, welcome. We now have 17 people in this. Always takes me a while to get people into the live, just on the basis that I don't do them that often. But yeah, ask me anything, go ahead. Just been talking about sort of the roots of where I came from. What tracks? Hello from Denmark. Hello from the UK. Welcome. That's another great thing about this channel as well. The people that you get to talk to, just all different parts of the world. I don't think there is a country where I haven't had a comment from. I think I've had pretty much all of them, and that's, yeah, minus the few maybe, but I've had a lot. Like there's trance in Japan is huge, and I've got quite a big base of followers from Japan. I've noticed a lot from the Netherlands and the UK, the US. Definitely, I've seen a lot of South American countries also supporting my videos and my work. So yeah, welcome and hello to everybody. Just the opportunities to get chat to so many people. California, Orange County. That's very nice. I take it you get nice weather pretty much all the time there. We're hit and miss. Like we've got sun today, but we've got nice cloud cover as well. So it makes it like 90% humidity, which is horrendous. So let's read this out. So you produce amongst the best arts that you've heard. Sorry for being ignorant, but can you tell me if you're responsible? Can I tell you if I'm responsible? I don't know. This is what people keep saying. Like, am I a ghost producer? Have I done things for people? I don't know. The whole idea is if you're a ghost producer, you're going to be a ghost producer. You can't really say. But um, when it comes to arts, most of the magic comes from the control of that. So once you've kind of nailed the theory side of things, if you think about it, trance is simple in a lot of ways with its scales. It's more about how you use the synth to create the sound. So velocity values and key tracking, the effects, all that sort of stuff. That's what brings life into those ARPs. And obviously in these arpeggio videos that I do each month, they're not really focusing on the nitty gritty and getting them super polished. It's more about the ideas across. So maybe I should do some more super polishing ideas. I've seen a few other channels doing where they're talking about using velocities and changing the velocities, and there's all different ways that you can approach it. So maybe I should start doing something like that. Let me know if you want to see that. But yeah, yeah. Well, it's nice here. It's just a bit cloudy and a bit humid. Um, You are very welcome. Yeah, it's I hear this so much, people saying that they're improving their skills, and I'm not trying to get people to a professional level. It's more just understanding everything, which then enables you to sort of like push yourself to that professional level so you can take yourself over the next line and understand how to get your sound better. So I've always focused on more of the beginner stuff, but the beginner stuff where you already know a little bit about synthesis and how to actually use Cubase or Logic or whatever it is. So I'm not super beginner, but just enough information to sort of push forward ideas. Yes, that's so generous on knowledge. 2012 is when I'm going to go back to. I was searching for this is when I started to sort of like really want to make trance rather than what I was doing. I was making also a little bit of hardcore in the background, UK hardcore. That was an interesting time. But set sights on producing trance. I was doing a bit of it, bit of tech trance here and there. But I started watching videos on how to produce, and there was Sadwick on there, super helpful. I can't remember the other person's name, but there was two channels that give you a lot of information. But then everybody else, very tight, holding the cards tight to the chest and not sharing anything. And if you want to learn about anything online, you can literally find how to do that, whether it's how to clean a window, how to, I don't know, anything. But when it comes to music, it's super closed. So that's where the channel idea started in 2013, released that one video. And yeah, so you can find a few videos online of some of my older stuff. It's pretty cringe, but it's there. I like to get deeper into synths, but better problem sound creation, get the stuff I've imagined easier and quicker. Yeah, that's it does help because, like, if you said to me, I need the pad from rank one Airwave, I know how to create that straight away on majority of synths. It's a very easy patch to create, but getting that sort of nuance in there is where more of the knowledge comes in. So if you were thinking of a starting point, or like when I'm building a pack, I get a starting point and I think, right, well, I'm going to sort of emanate from that patch and come up with some new ideas, make it a bit thicker and a bit more textured, add more chorus. So yeah, it does help. It does help, and it does give you ideas as well. I've come up with a few ideas just from programming sequences on Diva. There's loads of patches, by the way, that are unreleased on that Diva Trance Essentials pack I've just launched. So they're probably going to end up on Patreon, but there's loads. It was going to be a collection where I was going to do like 200 presets, but time permitting, it's just been all over the place. Serum 2 came out, that's what happened, and that put that project on the sideline. But yeah, understanding it a little bit more and being able to create your own, yeah, definitely super helpful. Do I do music reviews? I was thinking about it in the past, as in terms of reviewing like viewers' music sort of thing, like what's it called? Zen World does that sort of thing. I've not, um, but yeah, something we could look at, I suppose. That's not a no, but I haven't done them. But I've done reviews in terms of products as well. But you guys are a massive advocate for promoting products on my channel, especially when, like, even if it's a paid thing, I have to like the product. I have to use the product. I have to see a use for it in what I do. If I can't, I don't just. My emails are full of people asking all the time, and you just can't get back to them all. Too many. So just don't want to do like the selling out part of things. Sorry, just 2 seconds up here. To have a cat messing around somewhere. Just give me 2 seconds. That's fine. So yeah, music reviews, not something that people on the channel like too much, just because I have to be using it as well. Yes, so the Arteria JUP 8000, yes, I will be creating presets for it. But because of the projects I've already had on, I was already sort of like knee deep in the Diva preset bank, getting all that artwork sorted and the presets and the audio demos and getting it tested. So yeah, I didn't sort of miss the launch of that, but I'm not too fussed. I'll do some. There's some great packs out there already. Really great packs in terms of the sounds. But when I design my pack, I think people are wanting to see, oh, that's that sound from this track in the 1990s, and this one's from the year 2000. I just want to create new patches in there. So still, you're going to hear patches that sound like something, but I always tend to, like with this Diva pack, there's a few sounds in there that sound like something from the 90s and the early 2000s, but they're all sort of fresh presets. They're not really, this is that one. There's plenty of people out there doing that sort of stuff. But yes, I will be creating them for the JUP 8000. Go to synths. All right, okay. Go to synths. Well, it's definitely Diva at the moment, and Serum 2 is firmly up there now, just with its flexibility. You can get some really wacky stuff out there. You can get some really crazy ideas out of it, which is always a bonus when you're wanting ideas and things. But I would say I'm swaying more back to June 3 in terms of that classic power sort of super saw. June 3 does it really well. And I've had the opportunity. I've done the whole series for Synapse Audio on their YouTube channel. You can check those videos out on June 3. But I've had the chance to sort of like get behind the scenes and understand things a little bit more. So June 3, I think. And that's why I was going to be working on it today in the video earlier, but it didn't happen. Yeah, so I think I will end up doing some sort of fan made tracks and things, and just doing some live feedback, maybe something along those lines. Yeah, might be interesting. But yeah, it won't. It's not more. It's not time consuming. I think it's more. It's the amount of work that I have on. I don't want to commit to something where I can't fully put my commitment to it, if you know what I mean. So, like the Arpeggio series, I know that I'm doing that every month. There's one coming out tomorrow. If you're on Patreon, by the way, it's available now. But yeah, it's just more the workload. I have a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. YouTube is just a very small portion of what I do. And I think that's the same for a lot of people that you see that are making presets and tutorial series. YouTube is the smaller part. It's more like a marketing platform, essentially, but I try to do it where I'm not directly marketing something at you all the time. Just more like subtle hinting that I've got a website and you can check this out. And this is where these sounds came from, that sort of stuff. Yeah, when I was here, my previous cat, bless her, she had diabetes in the last years of her life, and we managed it well until 2 years ago. So unfortunately, she passed. But now we have a cat that was a stray move in, and we just let her sleep in the house for a little bit because she had nowhere to go, and I don't think she's owned by anyone. And then all of a sudden, we had three kittens. So I am glad the studio is not at home because that would have been an absolute nightmare for me recording videos. Um, and that's one of the main reasons why I've got the studio separate from the home at the moment, because the home is not ideal in terms of noise levels. So we're kind of surrounded by a lot of houses. So when it gets to like summertime and times where I'm recording during the day, it's just not soundproofed enough in terms of keeping the noise out. So that's why the studio is in literally a metal press factory at the moment, which is crackers to think that in a factory that's pressing and stamping metal is quieter than my home. So thank you very much, Formula. I don't think I've actually ever had a donation. That is fantastic. Thank you very much. Would you ever consider critique sessions where you submit novice work? So yes, so we were sort of discussing this just a moment ago, doing something like this. It's more down to the commitments that I've got at the moment in terms of work. I'll just explain YouTube's like the smaller part of what I do. But yeah, I think we could do something like that, definitely. Even if it was maybe trial it in a members area on YouTube or something, or maybe on Patreon, and then I can release something that actually works on YouTube instead of just trying to make something stick, if you know what I mean. Because yeah, we can do something like that. I'll work on something. I'll think of something to do because that is definitely probably going to do well because people want to hear what their music sounds like and get a professional opinion. So I haven't released anything myself. I'm still learning tricks of the trade. It's very evident. Some of you might not think so, but it's very evident that I've got a little bit of road to walk yet before my music's sort of where I want it to be. But yeah, definitely. And thank you very much for that donation. Absolutely fantastic. So future videos on the Steinberg. So I'll come back to your comment before that. Sorry. Future videos that you have on Steinberg. Yeah. So the videos that are going to be coming out are uh, focusing on techno. That was the request for that video series. So I've done it in a Boris Brejcha style. Generated a kick using the drum machine. So we've got a kick drum that is fully synthesized from there, and hats and claps and everything else, but mainly focused on the kick. And then the pattern editor, so we can get grooves and we can save those grooves instead of using MIDI. Works tons better in Cubase now, stuff like that. And then the final episode's on the modulators and how you can connect them to different things within Cubase and different things on third party stuff like synthesizers. And it works really quick. So it's very similar to how Ableton works, in my opinion. But you'll see that video. I think it'll be coming out shortly. They haven't messaged me to say if there's anything that needs tweaking on the videos. But yeah, they should be coming out soon. I'll double check on that and put that on my channel. You sell trans kicks? So no, I don't sell trans kicks, but I do have a lot of trans kicks that I have created. I've got a video coming out about how we can use certain techniques to get kick drums and then how we can build on that. So yeah, I think that's going to be a video at some point, but I have got trans kick drums, but not for sale just yet. I've actually got a sort of old school classic trans kick pack that will be coming out, utilizing a TR909. So I'll be working on that. So yeah, there will be some kicks at some point, just not on the store just yet. So biggest failure of YouTube tutorials is that there's no closed loop feedback path. Do you mean in terms of um, people asking for more in-depth knowledge on what was happening in the video or correcting ideas that were in there? If I'm on the wrong path, let me know. But yeah, I think that's where live streams really would come in handy, doing stuff like that. So you can, whilst I'm doing the tutorial, you can actually ask questions. Patreon is there for that, but obviously people have to donate to obviously see the videos early and get in touch. But that's what that's there for, and it does help me improve the videos as well. I do get feedback on there in terms of video quality, and I don't think I've ever had a problem with explaining things. I've always been praised for the way that I teach and explain and keep it simple. And I think that's just the way I've learned. I don't want all this jargon. Just give me the facts, give me the why do we do this and is there a reason behind it sort of thing. Discord, no, but I do have a Telegram group. I am building a Discord group. The Telegram group, the reason I opted for it is just because I had Telegram installed, but it's part of the Patreon group. So it is a closed group at the moment, but I want to set up a Discord on the free part of my Patreon so everybody can just join the Discord and start obviously sharing stuff on there and all that good stuff. So yeah, thanks for reminding me on Discord. I definitely need to get that one sorted. So many things to do. Greetings from Spain. Hello from the UK. Been following you for many years. Thank you very much. I do appreciate your support. Literally every single person that's subscribed, liked, commented. It doesn't have to be all of them. Shared the videos. Just watched silently and never commented. I appreciate every single one of you. Obviously, I can't grow the channel without people watching. So, like I said, I provide the videos, everybody does the rest. And yeah, that's the only reason I'm at 25K. I think something like 2 million or 3 million views or something like that. So, like I was saying, it's a relatively small channel in the grand scheme of it, but huge for me and for the community. So, yeah, it's really nice to see. It's been a slow grower, to be honest. Like I was saying, I wasn't thinking about pushing the growth of the channel. It was more just delivering videos, and if it grew, sort of thing. And the same with the shop. I'll let you into a little secret. I first launched the shop in 2019, and I released it halfway through August, I think, in 2019. And yeah, it made a lot of money in a very short period of time. So that's how it got kickstarted on the preset side of things. It was just an experiment. I set up a free website and just hoped for the best, and yeah, it did well. So that's how that got going. So let's have a look. So that's what I was thinking, implementing missing details and errors that provide corrections. So I was already thinking about doing something where the videos, if there is a correction, I leave them up for a while with a title explaining or in the description that there is a updated video with a link to the updated video, and then sort of push the newer information if you know what I mean. But that's the only way you can really do it on there. I don't have the ability to upload over videos. I've just got to find a charger for this phone. But yeah, I get exactly what you mean, but we can do stuff like that. Just seeing if there's a charger in here, which we do. So yeah, I agree with that one. Uh, let's have a look where I can plug in that one. So let's have a look. What else have we got? Go to headphones for mixing. I would say it's my DT 1990 Pros from, what are they called? Isria B, I think. I don't even have my headphones with me. They're at the studio. But yeah, they're my go-to, the DT 1990s, the Tesla coil ones. Just the fact that they are so buttery smooth on response and very flat, like to the point they are so flat, it's quite unnerving producing on them. But I learned to produce in headphones and then moved to speakers and things. So you can do it, but you still need to have a studio or at least speaker setup at some point. But yeah, that's what I use because it's a lovely flat response in terms of delivery. Um, Bare dynamic, that's the word. You work with other artists and singers. So in terms of other art, because I haven't released anything, I haven't worked with other artists, but I have a lot of connections with other artists through preset buying, YouTube tutorials, one-to-ones and stuff like that. So I do have those sort of connections, but not, I don't work with them in a creating music capacity, if that makes sense. MIDI packs, yeah, use MIDI packs. I provide MIDI packs. It gives you inspiration for creating trance, creating anything really, to be honest. You don't have to use it as it is. It's just there for you to spark an idea and then develop it into your own. Like I say, they're all royalty free, so you can use them. But I always say, don't just use them raw as they are. Develop your own sort of sequence out of those ideas because you'll end up sounding like someone else because they've done the same thing. Hello. Uh, Huge thanks for the tutorials. You commented on your recent video about Atmos that you'll upload your productions to SoundCloud. When do you plan to upload them? Yes, so I do have a few tracks, like I said, behind the scenes, but it's more of a case like you just got to get them out there, obviously, but it's getting them to a polished level. So a lot of people seem to think when if I'm not uploading tracks from my own thing that I'm fearing criticism or something like that, and that's not really the case. This channel's all about showing you the trials and tribulations of music production and learning the things I've got wrong. There are some videos out there that of mine that are just inherently incorrect, correct in the fact that they're providing the right information, just delivered wrong. So those are the ones that I'm re-recording and replacing and just doing better videos and things. But in terms of music, yes, I need to start putting it on the SoundCloud. So there is a few. I'll get them there, but the ones that I want to release are not going to go up there. But I'll get that done actually. I'll work on that this week. Love the Vital tutorials. Yeah, I haven't done any for a while, have I? I don't think on Vital. Just I think the hype of Serum 2 and me working on my Diva pack and then the JUP 8000 from Arteria came out. I think they've just stolen the limelight this year. Um, but I've kind of done a lot on Vital. I think where it gets to the point, there's not much more I can do in that sense. I'll still will do videos, but there'll be take different sort of takes on other videos if that makes sense. But I want to start doing some more on the other synths that are out there because once you get to a stage where you are serious about producing trance or any music, you invest in the tools that are commonly used, not just because they're used by other people, but because they do that specific job. So, like the JUP 8000, for example, that is going to be great. Is great. I don't know why I'm saying going to be for that classic trance sound because obviously it's the emulation of the JP 8000. Diva also has the JP 8000 sort of emulation in there. And yeah, you can get that sound from there. And then Vital, much cleaner sounds. You can get nice vintage sounds out of it as well if you want to, but it's got a cleaner start. Serum 2's got that cleaner start, but you have tons more modulation options and stuff. So Vital is a mini Serum. People who use FL Studio create amazing tracks. Yes, they can. There is tons of people out there that use Fruity Loops. I can't think off the top of my head who, but if you just type in onto Google, just who uses FL Studio, for their productions. I think, am I wrong in saying Avicii used it in his time? But there is plenty of people. I know loads of people. I think in the mix, the channel on here, he uses FL Studio. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong there. I might be inherently wrong, but loads of people use it. Definitely. Yeah, Bayard, Diet and Namek. That is correct. And hi, Michael, again. Yes, Spire is an all rounder as well. Yeah, people like Giuseppe made that quite famous. Ottaviani, that is, and not the guy that created Pinocchio. The I think the engine is just lovely and warm to start with. It's just got that lovely warm trance feeling. All the other synths can achieve that, but Spire's starting point is just more inspirational in that sort of aspect. So yeah, forgot about Spire in terms of my go-to synth. Spire is definitely probably up there. I never use Silence too much, to be honest, but I do like the sound of Silence. But I think it's because I didn't have it from an earlier stage. I was using Serum and uh, something else, Synth One and something else. So that they were my main go-to synths at the time. Yes, I think Dead Mouse did use it early on, but he uses all sorts, literally all sorts, doesn't he? So yeah, he's like I said, he's not too hot on his theory, but on his production, yeah, he's got some great ideas. That guy, whether you love him or hate him, he's good at what he does. Osgun, yeah, yes. Thank you for confirming that In the Mix does use it. I remember watching his videos and thinking, I'm sure he does. Um, but yes, it doesn't matter on the door that you're using, is what I'm getting at. Use any door that you're comfortable with, get to know it, and then once you've got to know it, that sort of stress is out of the way. You're more focused on your productions then instead of thinking, what's the shortcut for zooming? What's the shortcut for knocking back something one step or one bar or 1/16th? You just know it, and then it makes it much easier and much more fluid. Yeah, yeah, literally, you could just use one synth. So Serum 2 is a good shout. It's nice and modern, but it gives you all the features to make it sound vintage as well. And yeah, and some of the ideas, like there's going to be ideas coming out in that in 10 years' time where people are creating crazy stuff that we've never even thought we could create before. Serum 1 did it for a good decade and shaped dubstep and everything else. But yeah, it's a good all-round synth. It's got a good sound to it, and I think just with the sort of expansion on the sort of like sound design options gives it a lot more, especially like the spectral stuff. Can make some really interesting effects and pads and atmos, stuff like that. Um, how's everyone finding Durham 2 anyway? Do we like it? Did we own it before it went upgraded? Because obviously you can get it free. I donated to them. Obviously, you don't have to, but I did. So I gave them some money for it, just towards the developers who have put a lot of time and effort into that. But not saying anybody else should do that, but you know what I mean. Massive, yes, that's the other synth. That's the other synth. I was using Massive, and unfortunately, I didn't acquire it as I should have done in the early days. But I was a college student and uni student, so that's my excuse. But obviously, I have acquired it. I believe in obviously supporting them at the same time. I just don't believe in a lot of the background stuff with controlling how many machines you can have it on. I get that they need to do it, but sometimes it messes things up when, like, if I bring my laptop home like this, before iLock sort of went digital, couldn't do anything. I had to bring that with me. I had to plug it in. I had to take it everywhere with me, and the chances of losing it were just extraordinary. So stuff like that. I know it's digital now, but it still does cause a few issues. So yeah, but we're not getting onto the pirating. I'm not saying people should do that. Um, if Cubase wasn't around, what would I use? I'd probably Ableton, because I switched to Mac in 2011. So yeah, probably Ableton, because I wouldn't have gone for Logic. I always thought Logic was a bit cheap at first. But come to realize that's not the case. So I ended up with Cubase, but I probably would have been Ableton and still using Reason, because Reason, I don't know, the workflow in Reason made more sense to me when I was younger in terms of patch baying the cables and stuff, because obviously I did a lot of studio work at uni and college and stuff, and got to know the studios pretty well. So that made more sense, and I enjoyed doing that. And you could make some really good sort of like relaxy, down tempo, chill out, orchestral style stuff in there really easily, because the flow was quite natural in that sort of sense for me. But yeah, Ableton would have probably been the door that I used. No problem. Yeah, M1. So I know a chap that's yeah, M1. Did I own that? Can't remember if I did, but yeah, the it was a lot more niche back then for plugins, because obviously computers were still on the sort of rise. And I remember, I do tell a lie, Massive was my first synth, but my first paid synth was Vanguard. And I absolutely loved the sort of sound that Vanguard had. It was that sort of digital, cheesy sound, but once you layered those in, you got really unique textures with sounds. So Vanguard, when that came back out, I was happy that I could use it again, but it's not something I go back to all the time. I have got Vanguard Acids out on the website. It did pretty well actually, the Vanguard Acids. I didn't think it would do, just with the amount of people that didn't use it. But that was a fantastic little synth alongside Nexus, obviously, when that was at its peak. Uh, do I use references in my own? Yes, I do. So I don't. You can make music without references, but you can get lost very quickly in the sound that you're trying to achieve, if that makes sense. So the difficulty with references, and the difficulty that I had, was you drag your track in. Let's just say, I don't know, it was Dead Mouse, I remember. I'm just picking that one off the top of my head. Say that's in there, I'd start hearing the track and recreating elements of the track rather than my own idea. So I used to get really lost in doing stuff like that. But now, once you understand the music sonically and understand what you're trying to achieve, it's more about the tonality and the placement of the instruments in there, and the flow, the speed, tempo, and stuff like that. So yeah, it's much easier to use that. But reference tracks are a must, because you need to have something in sight. So you need to have something that you are working towards, and then you can flip back and forth, and you can go, oh, I'm 10 miles off the kick and bass being cohesive and sounding the same as this track that I'm referencing. It gives you that sort of feature to rein back in and redevelop it. If you that makes sense. So yeah, reference tracks are a must, in my opinion. So yeah, difficult question. Do you feel that everyone using the same VSTs makes it difficult to stand out with your own sound? Yes and no. If you're going to use presets, then yes, you're going to sound the same as everybody else. But if your own sound comes from the way you interpretate those sounds. So this is not trans related, but take Flume, for example. His early work, when I was listening to his stuff, I was hearing samples from hardcore packs. I was listening to, and I think I heard something out of a hard dance sample pack or something like that. It was a vocal line. It's your interpretation of those sounds and how you place them into your mix. That's what gives you your sound, and the way that you process your sound. So, for example, you might have a unique ear for layering some classic synths with a modern lead, and then pluck that, I don't know, just has an infinite amount of reverb on it, and then you compress it down and turn it into a sort of atmosphere in the background, but it's also providing, I don't know, attack to your leads and plucks. I'm just picking random stuff off the top of my head, but it's how you interpret those sounds is what I'm trying to say. You'll approach it different. If you've ever watched anyone online creating a melody, like me, you might go in your head, no, that it needs to go up a chord or it needs to go down. The bass needs to change at that point. You'll hear things differently to me, and that's your natural sound. That's what you're picking up on there. Use Reason. Yeah, fantastic choice. They do have the option to have VSTs in there now, so it's a lot more open than it used to be. You used to have to rely on their own sort of like sound sets and things like that. But now that you can actually load VSTs, I think that makes a lot more sense for Reason. And I'm still wanting to get back into it. I think I've been invited to a couple of seminars to obviously look at new features, but I've just never had the time to do that. But yeah, hey, fellow Reason user. Vital plugin, yeah. Vital is a must. It's vital, I think. Pardon the pun. It's a no-brainer. If you are doing it as a hobby, or your funds don't stretch as far as you want them to, then there's no problem in that. Just get Vital. You can create amazing trance. Like I've just done the trance template for Born to Produce. Probably one of the best trance templates I've done to date. And yeah, that's all using Vital and some presets from Vital, my uplifting collection. So yeah, you can use Vital. There's no issue. Like I think people comparing synths, it gets a little bit too deep. That's what's wrong with YouTube at the moment. Which is better? Is this better? Is that better? Why? Or if I want this sound, I have to use that synth, and it's not really necessarily the case. It's just learn the basics and you'll understand that what you do and you don't need. And again, the trans template is made using stock plugins and a few third-party free plugins to show you that you can get a pretty good, accurate sound of uplifting trance just using free stuff. Omnisphere, yeah. So that's one thing that I have not got into. Omnisphere. I love the idea of it. I love the whole sound sets that come out of it and the things, and I probably do need to get it, to be honest, but it's something I don't own because I've never felt the need to own it. Didn't own Silence till probably about 3 or 4 years ago. It's just something that I never got into because I was using other things. So it just shows you don't need to have everything because someone else is using it. It's one of those difficult things. Like the internet is flooded with so much information now, and it just gets to the point people don't check up on information. It just becomes wrong everywhere. And yeah, that's another topic. Okay, Amado, sorry. Enjoy work. Hopefully, it's not too warm for you. Uh, the worst thing is delay when you use an external instrument. Yeah, I agree. Uh, Especially when you're trying to play something on the fly, if you don't have it set up. So delay's not too much of a problem for me anymore, but it used to be. But yeah, I get it. Especially when I use SonarWorks, and sometimes when I'm recording, I have to drop the samples on it, so I get a lot of delay from the keyboard, so it makes it quite difficult to play things whilst I'm actually recording videos. So if you see me struggling sometimes, that's why, because there's that delay. Okay, thank you very much for joining. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong here. Is it Meniden? But yeah, enjoy and yeah, say hello to the horses from me. One of the best trance melodies. Sounds Russian David West remix. No, I've not heard that. Check it out though. But no, I love these things as well because there's so much trance out there that I've still not heard from back in yesteryear, and vice versa. I have a lot of tracks in my collection that people have never heard. And it's because you can't access them on Spotify and Apple Music and all streaming services. There's a lot of stuff out there that you can't access anymore. So to have these collections and CDs and tapes, yeah. But no, not heard that. I might check that out. Who's the favorite producer in the uplifting trance genre? That's yeah. I struggle with favorites because I don't have favorites. I just enjoy it, if you know what I mean. But if I had to pick one, I think. maybe a couple of years ago, I was enjoying the whole flurry of Giuseppe Ottaviani's stuff that were coming out on sort of like the really pumping in your face trance. He had a really good role there with stuff like that. But who I'm sort of going for, because I don't listen to just trance exclusively, uh, I would say that I'm going more along the lines of Protoculture. I just love the way how he builds his tracks, how he builds the tension with very minimal effort, if that makes sense. Yeah, I just like that sort of sound. Tin Liquor, that sort of genre. I love that sort of stuff. But uplifting, it's probably going to be Giuseppe. Um, I've always liked. I can't remember his name now. But yeah, I'm going to say Giuseppe. That's probably okay. Formula. Thank you for joining. Thank you very much for donating as well. I really do appreciate that. What is your opinion on using return tracks for reverb? Um, so return tracks as in like a send track. I would say, yeah, it's definitely got its place. One, CPU power, if your computer's not the fastest on the planet. And secondly, keeping the same reverb and the sort of same settings keeps your track clean. If you had to have two, I would say use the same reverb but have a shorter and a longer one. That would give you more flexibility so you can send things that have got shorter attacks and things like that to the shorter reverb and pads to the longer reverb and stuff where there's no transient detail, if you know what I mean. And pre-delay is a huge one for stuff like that. But yeah, send tracks definitely. But you'll see me using reverbs on individual track layers, and that's because I'm doing more of a sound design effort at that stage rather than trying to give it a polished finish or put it in a space, if you know what I mean. I'm doing something sound design based where it's quite extreme. But yeah, pre-delay for your leads and your plucks is definitely a must. It keeps it dry to the moment that the attack hits and then floods it with reverb. So depending on how drastic you are, you can get some good sounds there. Oh, I agree. Above and beyond, yeah, definitely. I listen to group therapy, and I just love listening to. Even though I'm a state of trance radio, I'm not a massive fan of. I like it and I listen to it. That's the thing, and group therapy, but it sways around a lot. And I know they're trying to encompass a lot of different styles of trance and house for group therapy and stuff in there. But it varies a lot. But it's a great place to discover new music and new artists and merging stuff. But above and beyond, yeah, their tracks alone, not their radio, fantastic. Their production value is just through the roof. Yeah, so I got into them probably like 2004 or something like that, discovering some of their older stuff and then moving forward. You can recommend the IK Studio for room connection hardware box. Okay, yeah, I'll keep that in mind. I have seen that, but I've never actively looked because obviously I've not needed to recently. But thank you very much for letting me know. Definitely Daxon. Daxon is a cracking producer. I love the high octane energy that he has in his music. Simple but high energy. Reorder as well. Yeah, he's doing great with his YouTube channel as well. It's really nice to see. He's actually given me quite a few ideas for tracks. Just I think you've got to keep learning from people. You've got to look from different directions, and I see people who I've looked up to from the very beginning of listening to trance, and I've talked to them, and they're they're looking at me thinking sort of the same thing, like not a pedestal, but the sort of they're going like, "Oh, you're fantastic at what you do," and this, and it's like it's just bizarre to me to hear that, but we learn from each other all the time, and it doesn't stop. So, but yeah, reorder. He's definitely he's cracking the scene. Definitely, Darren Porter. Yep, definitely. Yep, all of them. Good afternoon. You use different sensor pads and leads, etc. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, so it was just a case of just having one reverb for everything, but having a short and a long one makes more sense because obviously you don't just want to plaster a huge tailed reverb on top of something that doesn't require that. Because it just gets messy and it fills up your spectrum and gets your track all a bit mushed up. But some tracks actually work doing it that way. That's what gives it its classic vintage sound as well sometimes. But I'm not saying flooded tracks with reverb, just it's the limitations of the time. I appreciate that. The official TLM. I'm glad it's helped. I just love hearing about people, even if it's just fixing a minor problem that they've had or they've been struggling. It's just nice to hear it from all over the world and just seeing that something made a difference in that video. That's the part I love. That's what keeps me going. And that's why I do this full time now. Seeing the development of everyone else, getting to meet new people, and even like the other people, it'd be great to have a chat with other creators like Reorder, Alan Morrow, all these sort of people, like fantastic producers doing well in what they do. And yeah, I learn a lot from other people back and forth as well. And I hope people learn stuff from me as well. But obviously, I do more beginner stuff, if that makes sense. So I've only just started delving into more of the intermediate stuff on the channel. But yeah, thank you very much for your support. And again, I'll say this to everyone if you haven't weren't here before. I provide the videos, you do the rest. You the guys that made 25K on the subscribers. It's the liking, it's the sharing, it's the commenting, and then the supporting elsewhere, whether you choose to buy some merchandise, whether you choose to buy into the Patreon, whether you buy anything off there, whether it's financial or it's just moral support, everything helps. And I appreciate every single one of you. It's fantastic. I love doing what I do. I absolutely love it. There's not a day where I've not woken up and thought, I don't want to do any work today, as in not wanting to go and do something. I'm just eager. I sit there and think, what can we do today? What's on the plan for this? What presets am I going to make? What synth am I going to choose to do? I absolutely love it. Um, After an 8-year break, one of the tutorials, I think it was the mid bass inspired. Yeah, so I think bass always grabs people's attention because I think it's the most commonly struggled, including myself. Some of the things that I were doing, I had a one-to-one session with someone quite recently, and we were just talking about stuff, and something just clicked in conversation, and it just clicked, and that rip. I thought, yeah, that's what I need to do with bass. So there are things where you just look at it, you think, how does that person do it? And then how does this artist do it? And you just pull the ideas, what works best for you and your sound, because it's not always going to work for you. If you are taking inspiration from someone doing classic trance and trying to apply it to some sort of high octane euphoric track, it's not going to be the same sort of principle, if you know what I mean. Um, Thank you very much, Energy. Appreciate your support. Hello, and yes, congratulations on the subs. I Congratulations to you for helping me get to 25K and supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. Okay, okay. Well, enjoy going to work. Hopefully, it's a job that you like doing. And yeah, I will see you again at some point, Toboggan. Thank you. Um, Tutorials are great. I'm 39, still learning. My goal in life is to get something released, and it is definitely possible. I've seen people get stuff released and they're in their late 40s, never released a track in their life. I think even in the 50s. I think I've seen, and I've had people purchasing packs and just chatting behind the scenes that are in the 60s. So it's definitely doable. I'm just thinking of that guy on YouTube now. If anybody knows who he is, he plays techno music off. I can't remember what synth it is. Just a little synth on his table, and sometimes he does it in his back garden on his bins. He's like in his late 60s or 70s. He just brought that back to mind. Absolutely love his stuff. So you can do it. There's nothing. I'm 37, not had a release officially under this name, my name. How long did it take till you went full time? 2013 all the way through till 2019. I was doing a hobby before that. I've been producing music since EJ2. If anybody knows EJ, I'm going to be actually doing a video because they've revamped the whole series on EJ, so I'm probably going to get it. But it's Windows only, so I've got to get Parallels or something to run it. But starting in EJ2, I was 9 years old, going 10. So that would have been 1998 when I started producing. So I wouldn't call it producing, it was just dragging and dropping samples around. But then, yeah, it's just gone from there. But you've got to allow growth, and it does take a little bit of time. So most people give up on the journey of YouTube and things because they're wanting instant success and quick results. So it's taken a while. But now that I'm doing this more professionally, the channel's growing a lot quicker, if that makes sense. So it's taken a long time, and yeah, I've worked a lot of jobs in between. So it's been difficult. Let's put it that way. Very difficult. Ah, cool. So 2004. Yeah, so I think that was still like a peak of the trance era. It was just sort of like starting to fade off for me at that point, because I was really enjoying like the classic trance and stuff, and it got really modern. And I think a lot of it went a bit too far, went a bit too glitchy, and dubstep crept in a little bit with the way how samples were played and stuff like that. I'm not saying all of it. Trance still lived on through it, but it just made me fall out of love with it, and I ended up doing tech trance for a while, and then yeah, back into sort of like the trance we're doing now. So yeah, 2004 was definitely like peak time, 1999 to 2004, probably for me, 98 to 2004. Yeah, progressive trance. I think I was into progressive trance, but I didn't know I was, if that makes sense at the time. I was just listening to anything I could listen to, and my music taste varied. Like I said, I was listening to happy hardcore, rave, house, then like all trance and stuff, but then also a lot of rock because my other half is a rocker, and yeah, that got me into Linkin Park and stuff like that by 2003, 4. And yeah, so it's very eclectic, the music taste, and it should be because that's where you can draw inspiration, and that's what gives you your unique style. That's how you put your stamp on your music. You bring influences from the things that you like and the experiences you've had. That's what gives you it. Cold Harbor. Yeah, I've not heard that name for a long time. Blimey. Do you think that it's silly to try and use stock Ableton Suite instruments and effects instead of allowing yourself to use plugins? No, I don't. I was just saying my trance template for Born to Produce that I've just done, Uplifting Trance for Cubase, is using Cubase stock plugins, and I do a lot of work for Cubase, but my opinions are still my own. I think Ableton has got a lot more variety and with the stock stuff. So you can really make anything you want. Cubase, you can make anything you want, but I think the plugins are a little bit more limited. So it does depend on the door, but I've just made that template for them want to produce using nothing but stock plugins and a few free plugins. So yeah, you can. I'd love to actually use a proper free door as well and do it that way and do some tutorials, I think, as well. But yeah, stock plugins, go ahead, use them. I think, for example, OTT by Zephyr Records, there is one in Cubase called Squasher, and I think it's 10 times better. Instant results from OTT, but Squasher has got more options on it. So the stock plugin is way better, in my opinion. So never underestimate the power of stock plugins. I did for a long time, till about 4 years ago. Yeah, progressive house. There's a very blurred line, if any line anymore, between progressive house and trance. It's like, I don't know, you listen to Tin Liquor, and one moment they're in the firmly in the progressive trance, and then the next one they're firmly in like progressive house. Um, but then all the rest of it's like blurred between. So I don't mind that idea because they are blurred, and it brings more people to each scene. I think that's a good thing. I started in 1993, but my GD800. Very nice. Yeah, I wish I could have started earlier, but I think in 1993, Paul, I was 5 years old. So yeah, I could have started, but I'd have had to rely on my dad to get me some stuff. But yeah, I wish I was around a little bit earlier to experience sort of the rave scene in its prime as well. That would have been cracking. But yeah, some JD800. Don't know if I owned one of them at some point. In Ableton, can you manage it as well if you have the full suite? Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Like I was saying earlier, any door and then stock plugins, their stock synths can all be used. Cubase is probably an exception for me, just on the electronic side, because Retrolog is great, but it you obviously can't do that modern sound design on there. You can get somewhere close, but not quite there for me anyway. And better sound designers probably will be able to. And then I think Extreme, their synth, that's one of the best spectral synths I've seen in a long time. And yeah, that's quite nice. So it does open up the doors, but don't limit yourself to thinking you have to use paid plugins for everything. Most of the stock EQs are fine, compressors are fine. If you think about it, back in 1999, trans producers didn't have 400 different compressors to choose from. They'll have just had one, if any, in a lot of cases. Same with the EQs. It'll have all. If it wasn't on the computer, it'd have been on a mixing desk. So yeah, they didn't have 5,000 different EQs. So don't be afraid to use those stock ones, even if it is a pro version of the software or not. Yeah, Studio One. I wish I'd got into it earlier to test it out. I probably will do. I'll probably end up doing it at some point. Yes, you will hear me on streaming platforms. I was just processing that there because I couldn't read it. Uh, but yeah, I will do. I'll get some tracks out there. Stuff that obviously I'm never going to release. I'll just put it on there so you can enjoy some sounds. I'll put it on the SoundCloud where I put all of my packs, pack demos and things on there. The Amiga 500, 4-track, no MIDI, no effects. Fantastic. See, that's what I mean. If you are restricted, you learn faster, you learn more, and then when something comes along that gives you a potential solution to something that you couldn't do before, then you're only learning that little additional bit of information to apply to your tracks. So yeah, having that's why I think with the track that I was showing you before, if you were around for that live stream, that failed earlier on in the studio, that sort of classic trance infused track was just one lead, one bass, the kick, the percussion, and a pad. Keeping it nice and simple, keeping it nice and limited, so then you can get that true sort of like classic sound. Um, Yeah, I think Logic Pro is very strong, along with Ableton, to be honest, for their stock synths. Definitely. Logic, I think is it the ES2 in Logic? Just fantastic sound, obviously, for good reason. It's just a shame it's closed down for a lot of people. If you don't have Mac, you can't obtain those ones, but Ableton along those lines, much, yeah, it's probably on par with the amount that you can do in terms of synthesis and wavetable design and all that stuff. Even to be fair, Reason is pretty good. It's got some good synths in there, and obviously third party as well now on there. So no, I don't offer classes on melody writing, but that is a good idea. Maybe that's something I've already been thinking about doing workshops. So I'm falling out of the idea, falling out of love with the idea of courses. I'm preferring workshops. Now, the difference between a course and a workshop, the course gives you this is how you do it. Follow this, follow that. You'll have this at the end. Whereas a workshop is more development on an idea that is yours. So it's focusing on something you're working on or focusing on something that is a standard practice for sound design, like how do you get the super saw and then branch out from there. So it's a workshop on it. It's not just a how to get that one particular sound. It's how do you achieve a multitude of different super saw styles, for example. But yeah, we could do some classes. That would be interesting. I've already been thinking about doing some sort of venue based thing, whether it's because obviously I'm local to Manchester, Leeds, Liverpool, all that sort of thing. So I'm just wondering if I should do some in-person workshops in the future. Yeah, I do envy the people that have access to the ES2 in Logic because the sounds that come out of there, the Dave Parkinson stuff, um, some of the presets out there, really good out of the ES2, but not unrecreatable in other synths, I might add. Um, One-to-one lessons. Yes, so I did do one-to-ones. Um, I wanted to restructure how I did one-to-ones. So with the workload that I had, I wouldn't have been able to commit to giving full-time commitment to the course. I say the courses, the one-to-ones. But I am planning to start them up again this year and actually something set in place because I want you to be able to follow like a 10-step program or something where you can go from where you are to where you need to be. Because I have few people when I was doing the courses where they were good at what they did, but they weren't quite there, but they weren't open enough to sort of progress and get it sounding better. They already thought that they would where they were, and that's fine if that's what you want to do. That's your choice. But I need that sort of like 9 or 10 step program to follow, so then you can develop your own sound without sounding like me, if you know what I mean, or any other artist. Just get it ready, sort of thing, so you can. But yeah, one-to-ones are coming back. I'm just rambling on here. Yes, I agree. Spire, definitely. The JUP 8000 already knew it was going to be good. It's been a long time coming for that synth. So I've obviously got the real deal in the studio, but just to have the ability to have them presets at the same quality, with more options, obviously as well. It offers. That's the sort of stuff I like doing. I think it'll become a firm favourite for layering in there, but like I say, I want to do something infused with classic trance rather than just solely focusing on it, if that makes sense. And there's a lot of tracks out there that are showing signs of doing stuff like that, so it's got a really nice sound. But Spire, like I say, it's got that chunky, warm, big sound as soon as you just start messing around with the dials. And the JP 8000 or the JUP 8000 has that same sort of quality to it. It's just got you seem to discover because it's so tweakable is the word I'm looking for. You can get very different sounds out of it. Would I teach a complete beginner? So I have done, but again, it was the commitment to I need to build a program that you can follow. So outside of the tutorials, the one-to-ones, you can also follow up on things that I can't explain or we don't have time to explain in the tutorial session. So you can still continue learning up to the next um, session, because I found a lot of people tend to get lost between sessions. So I think if I have something where you've got something solid to look at and follow, that will help in those sessions. So I have been building that actually, but just not got around to doing it. But yeah, one-to-ones are coming back this year. I will announce it on the website at some point, especially for beginners. Yeah, the resonance. Yeah, I've always thought with the synths, it's always the filter. Uh, like with Diva and its JP8000 sort of emulation, the digital oscillator, the filters were good, but it didn't quite have sort of like the resonance control, like you say on there. It just didn't squeal. It didn't have that sound to it. Uh, But that's the beauty of it, and I think the JUP does a really good job of it. And if you said to me, listen to A and B, which one's the real synth, which one's not, I probably won't be able to tell anymore. Because at the end of the day, nobody cares what synth you use to make something. I don't listen to, I don't know, Giuseppe Ottaviani and think, oh, what synth did they use there? I think I can hear it Spire. You just wouldn't know unless there's some obvious character. How many tracks do you think you need to produce to feel like you're getting to where you want to be? Just keep making music. Finish a track, and I need to do this myself. Put it out there. Just put it on SoundCloud, get the feedback, and then what you're doing is you're creating a catalog of things that you can see, and you can see your progress. So you could look back a year and go, "That's where I started. This is where I am now. I've got way better," and it's like a little milestone. So yeah, doing stuff like that. Just make as many as you can. Don't rush them, but just make tracks, get the idea down, and sometimes you may come back to it in the future and rework it and do an even better job than what you did. So definitely. Uh, Thank you very much, Mohammed. Any advice on bass groove, rolling bass? Yeah, so rolling basses, you need to use velocity. That is a good one. So just control the levels of them. So very similar to how you would use sidechain or a volume shaper to make the notes get louder as it progresses. Use the velocities. I've got a few videos on that you can check out. Using velocity on the filter, so you're getting different filter levels and where it's opening to get movement, groove. That takes that robotic aspect off it, as well as shifting around octaves. Delay on the mid basses, that also works for the rolling basses. You've got like your rolling main aspect, and then your actual um, mid bass that doesn't have any of the low end in it. You can put some delay on there and get some intricate patterns coming out of that as well. Just avoid muddying it up. But yeah, plenty of YouTube tutorials on that as well, if you want to check them out. What are your thoughts on ghost production? It's just a thing. Everybody does it. I think there's a lot of people. Um, I think people like, and I'm going to use this as an example, Calvin Harris. I went to see Faithless quite some years ago, and their support act was an unknown artist called Calvin Harris, and performed some of his tracks off his first album. And on stage, he was saying he's no synth guru, he's no computer guru, but he just loves making sounds and doing this. And then all of a sudden, in one year, he went to these hugely polished tracks. And I think it's ghost production, and it's not a bad thing, but at the same time, it's obvious if you know what you're looking for. It's not to say that he doesn't know what he's doing now, but I think he had a lot of help, and there's nothing wrong with that. But ghost production is a thing; people do it, and sometimes it's just for ideas because sometimes the artist is too busy, and then they take it on and do what they want, and they also get paid quite a bit of money. They do, depending on who they are, obviously. So yeah, I had no music theory when I started music, and I realized that I had music theory and I understood it, but I did it all by ear. So you can, theory is absolute essential to learn, but at the same time, it's not actually imperative. I did all my best work when I was a lot younger in that aspect. if that makes a lot, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but I did it by ear. There's a lot of pianists out there that just play by ear. They don't know theory, they don't follow the scales, they just hear it. That's I envy people like that. I'd love to be able to have perfect pitch. I've never actually tested for perfect pitch, but that'd be very nice to have. But yeah, music theory is definitely handy in the trance scene, just because you've got to understand a lot more than say the house scene, because you can make a track in the house scene with no chords in it at all. It's just samples and the groove more than anything. So that's not to say it's like any less than trance. It's just it's a different way of producing. Uh, yeah, no problem, no problem. It's nice to do something chill and just chat to you. I might do this more often on live streams. So, do you like Pete slash driving techno and hello space? Yeah, so I'm into pretty much anything. If it sounds good and it's produced well, I'm into it. So all this techno, this wave of techno, of it getting faster again. So we're back at that 140 and above VPM. That's becoming more normal again. That's the stuff that I really like. But then I like the Boris Brazier stuff where it's more minimal. I do like that as well. But the techno with the trance influence, that is definitely a direction that I've been thinking about as well, because I love producing stuff like that, and that's sort of more of my roots as well. I'd love to do more of that, definitely. But yeah, they're definitely flirting with each other, trance and techno, and I think that's a good thing because people keep saying trance has died, it's this and it's that, and it's not died. It's just not mainstreamable, which is great. I think that is great. We don't want it mainstreamable. We want to keep the feeling alive and look at pop music. Pop music had a very obvious identity in the late 90s and early 2000s, and then all of a sudden it just went dance, four to the floor orientated, pretty much the majority of it, which then killed a lot of trance tracks and a lot of cover versions of old stuff. And I'm just not into that sort of stuff. Some people are, but yeah, I like it not being non-mainstreamable. I'm into groovy Latin and tech house. Yeah, no, definitely. First track turns up to more clubhead hardstyle track. Yeah, just go with the flow. Again, that's why you'd use a reference track. If you find that your tracks go on different tangents, that is great. Don't ever stop the flow. But if you want to control the flow, then use a reference track to make sure that you're getting into the zone where you need to be. That's why we use them. So it's not to copy them; it's to copy that tonality and that pace, and yeah, all that timbre and stuff. Hello, Witch King. Hello, Shiva. Is it? Well, happy birthday. To be honest, every time it's my birthday, I don't have anyone around me. Celebrate it, enjoy it, appreciate it, but happy birthday. Uh, so, in terms of white keys and black keys, it depends on the scale you're using. So, practice using A minor scale, for example. It's all white keys, A to A. That's the easiest one to practice, used in trance a lot. But then you can practice other keys like E flat minor, for example. And if that sounds exotic to you, it's if you just type in E flat minor onto Google, get Scales and Chords website. It's always linked in my YouTube videos. It'll show you the notes that are used, and then start building on that. Start using them. Uh, it's easier than you think. Uh, hey, Paulson, how are you? No problem, Mohammed. Yeah, no problem. That's what I strive to do, answer everybody's questions where I can. And most of the time, it's a lot simpler than people are expecting. You have a question. Are you releasing music or are you ghost producing? So, just been, so, because you a bit later on into the stream, we have been talking about ghost production. and releasing music. Yes, I am planning to release music this year. Still need to polish off a few things, but I'm working on. I've been building the business, and that's where it's gone. I've just totally fallen out of the loop of producing music, so I'm getting back into it for myself and stuff like that. And a lot of people are throwing around that I've done ghost production, so I'm gonna nor confirm or nor deny that I have done ghost production. But I think that's the whole aspect of being a ghost producer. If you are, you're getting paid for the work that you do to be a ghost. But yeah, I am planning to release some stuff. I'm going to be releasing some things that I'm planning to release with a label or get ready for a label, and just put them on my SoundCloud and stuff, just to get into that flow. So I've got something different to do as well on my sort of weekends and times where I've not got much work on and stuff like that. So yes, I will. I will. But yeah, it's been a pretty good stream. This to say that it went upwards and wrong and upside down. Went the internet down at the studio. For those that have not been here yet in the stream, the internet in the studio space is unbelievably slow. It was faster in the 1990s, the internet. So I've got to talk to the landlord, see if we can upgrade that and get that sorted, so I can do proper live streaming down there. I've just got it cool as well down there. I'd had the aircon on to get the room to a nice temperature for recording, and had June 3 set up ready to make some presets live and just have chat. But here we are, sat in the snug in my home with decent internet. But it's been good. I'm enjoying chatting to you all. Yep, some of the originals will be coming. I'll get them on SoundCloud. I think I'll have to start digging through all the tracks that I've exported. Is there a way to get feedback? Yeah, there is. I do offer it through my Patreon at the moment. I don't even know if the tier is visible at the moment because I took it away for a while whilst I was busy. But yeah, you can get feedback from me. I do offer a feedback service, but it's not live on Patreon, so I'll get that sorted actually. But it's like a one-time thing where you can buy into one of the tiers and you can get some feedback. And I give a good amount of ample feedback. I don't just say you need to get better at this and that. I'll give you the direction you need to go to obviously improve wherever you feel you're lacking. So yeah, I do. Um, just keep checking back on my Patreon for the next couple of weeks. I'll open up that tier again. It's always above the oscillator tier. But you get all the perks as well. So it's not just the feedback, you'll get all of the extras, the packs that don't exist on my website, videos that you don't get to see on YouTube, and all that other stuff. There's all sorts on there, but I'll sort that out. So if it feels too familiar, as long as you're not copying it directly, then it's fine in my opinion, because you can't really. You can copyright the sequence of notes, which makes the melody, but if you're making it slightly different and you're not directly sort of ripping it off, then you're all right. If you know what I mean, like you can't copyright chords, for example. So if you find it's a bit too similar, tear away from that track for a couple of days, come back, don't listen to the melody, and just start building something different in that track and see if you can figure it out that way. Because it can happen, and it did happen with my Born to Produce template again. The melody that I used in that and I used in the Trans Arpeggio, which is the last one or the one that's coming out tomorrow. Someone said to me, I showed a friend, and he said, that sounds like Sam Laxton. And at this point, I've never heard of Sam Laxton. And I'm ashamed to say that. I'm really sorry, Sam. Um, he said, it sounds like Butterfly. So I looked at the track, and it literally, I'd done it note for note, and I'd never heard, honestly, never heard the track before in my life. And I just looked at it and thought, I can't put that out. That's exactly the same. It was near enough the same. So I changed it up a little bit so it wasn't essentially ripping his track off, even though I never intentionally did it. So it can happen. I've made tracks and then I've listened to something and thought, oh, That's exactly the same. So you can change it up a little bit, but as long as you're not just ripping off the entire motif and stuff like that in the melody, you can do it. I am. I am the enigma. I am the one, the unknown one, the one where nobody knows or knows who I am. What am I doing? What do I do behind the scenes? Series 4, episode 4. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Cool. Um, you started so young and you're a complete all-rounder. Yeah, I started on, I was saying this earlier, I started on EJ2 out of a cereal packet. Well, they were available in cereal packets, but I bought it from Asda for £8 when I was 9 year old. And I remember my mum saying to me, "Don't waste your money on that. Don't waste your money." And I was adamant I was getting it. And if I'd never done that, I don't know where I'd be right now. I'd probably be doing something with music, but probably not this. So yeah, I started from 9 years old, and my dad just nurtured it like he always has done. And yeah, I grew into what I do. Yeah, love it. All started from EJ2. Uh, Pick one synth, what to use forever, never use another one. Um, if it was a trance perspective, the obvious answer seems to be something like Serum 2, which is wildly like implemented in a lot of different areas because it's just so versatile. But I would say Spire, just for its sound. I know that there's the JUP 8000 out there and everything, but Spire can achieve that sort of older sound, the newer sound, and it's just that natural warmth to it. Sounds really nice. And you can get really quick results with it. And it's very limited in terms of what you can do to the sound as well, which is what I like in a synth. You don't want too much where you realize you could go down a totally different path and mess the sound up, if you know what I mean. You've just got a few effects, you've got a few envelopes, and away you go. So Spire, I would say. Do I know when June 3 will be upgraded? I haven't spoke to the guys over at Synapse for a while. I don't know if there's a plan to upgrade it. I think it's in a good spot at the moment, June. I never used June before version 3, but looking at what was updated, um, I don't know if I'd want anything else in it, but I think from memory there was an idea for an upgrade, but I don't know if it is gone ahead or it's in development because obviously of the Legend HC that they were working on, which is an absolute corker of a synth as well. But no, I don't know. You're welcome, Mohammed. It's really nice to it's nice to hear that again people are making so much progress. And I aim to sort of like help people from beginning stages into that sort of like lower intermediate area. And like I was saying earlier in the stream, working on now, working into the intermediate, if you know what I mean. And the only reason I did it that way around is because I was the beginner and I wanted to share everything with everybody. And obviously here we are now doing a lot more professional work. So thank you very much for your support, Mohammed. Really do appreciate the feedback as well and the support in the channel. Which sound card would you currently recommend? Well, I never get into this in too much depth, but if you're just going for some good all round, I would probably use the UAD stuff, definitely. Especially if you're doing it as a hobby, then just get the sort of entry level ones. They're absolutely fine. I'll let you into a little secret. I was using the SSL2 interface, just a two-channel interface. I was using that for 2 years in this room that used to be the studio. Um, Before I upgraded, I'm on a Focusrite Octo Pre 8, I think now. It's really what you're doing. The reason that I've gone for an 8-channel one is because I've got some external synths now that I use and plug in. I've got some external effects and things like that. So that's why I've opted for that. But otherwise, if you're just hobbyist at home, the UAD stuff, great audio conversion with them, so you get a nice crispy sound. But with if you're just doing it as a hobby, you can get anything really that sort of gives you that audio interface capability. You'll realize what you need as you progress through your musical journey. Um, I agree. Spire, definitely. June keeps killing the CPU. Yeah, it is quite intense on the smaller machines, but I think you can turn. Am I wrong in saying this? I'm wondering if you can. I think I'm thinking of Serum. You can turn down the quality value of it. Just yeah, if it's doing that, probably opt for Spire or Vital or something like that. They definitely give you good CPU usage. Pick one reverb. Well, I'm currently using the Black Hole reverb. That's what I'm using. Before that, I was using the Arts Acoustic. So I still do use that. So I'm going to go Arts Acoustic because it's more trance related. I appreciate the support, Ahmad. Thank you very much. Wow, insane. Second donation I've ever had in my entire YouTube career. So thank you very much. Um, I really do appreciate it. I appreciate everybody. You do not have to do anything to do with monetary, financial, anything. Comment, support, like, subscribe. That helps. That's why we're here with 25,000 on the special here, the live stream. But if you want to, yeah, thank you very much. If you want to donate, if you want to support the Patreon, the website, the merchandise, then yeah, I really appreciate every single one of you. So thank you very much, Ahmad. And it's great to hear that you are enjoying the videos. Do you know the monolayer trick that a lot of pros are now implementing in their leads? As in a monolayer, so one of the oscillators is just straight down the middle, and then the other two are filling out the sound. Is that what you're referring to? If so, yes. And I've sort of done it in all my preset designs, if that's what you're on about, Paulson. That's what I tend to do to make sure that they work in any environment, whether it's mono or stereo. Yeah, thank you. People have always commented on how I explain things and how I keep it simple, and I don't. It was difficult learning to stop the waffle in the way I teach. If you look at some of my really early videos, you probably won't notice, but there's a lot of ums, ers, ahs, all them sort of things cut out, and now I've perfected my speech a lot more. And with me being northern from England, it's difficult for people to understand sometimes. So I've perfected my voice as well for video, which is I'm not doing it too much here, but I do it on my recorded videos. But yeah, I try to explain everything in the easiest way possible. Yeah, I appreciate Hamad. Yeah, really do. Didn't have to do it, but yeah, I do appreciate it. It's it's crazy to see that people really do love the work that I do. Sometimes you lose sight of it, and I'm not just saying because obviously you give a donation, but you lose sight of it sometimes, and then you come back around to it when you read the comments and you see that people are progressing. They've been stuck in a rut for 2 months, and then they found my video and never knew I existed, and then suddenly they're on the way and producing again. That's the sort of stuff I like to hear, because that's what the channel is about. It's about helping people that can't otherwise get that help, if that makes sense. That's what YouTube's here for. A full layer in mono. So yeah, so it's sort of the same thing. You've got that full layer, and then you've got the other layers around it that are providing some nice stereo width. It's it's the sort of route. I can't remember who was talking about it. That making one preset to do the whole thing. So just one lead layer for your track, one pluck layer, and that's it. By utilizing the multiple oscillators that we get, so we can have one in super mono, and then the other two are sort of like filling out the sides and more detuned or whatever it might be. And then you've got kind of three lead layers all in one from one patch. So that's the sort of stuff I'm working on at the moment. But uh, sorry, I misunderstood you on that one, Paulson. Duplicate channel, put it in mono. Yeah, yeah. So I am aware of it. I've not done a tutorial on it. I think I don't. Might have done. Probably not because you're asking me. Um, 120 asteroid. Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's if you're wanting superpower from your leads, you definitely need to have something in a mono capacity to get that sort of like center frequency. I say center frequency, that center point in your track really hitting. Because if you think about it, you've only got your kick and your sub bass in a trance environment anyway. You've got your kick and your sub bass in the middle, so there's no reason why you can't layer extra on. I'll look into it, Pauls, and I know what you mean, and I sort of do what you're saying in preset design, but I'll take a look. You call me the arpologist. That is that is a good name for the series. Arpology. That's a good thing for the merchandise. Arpology on a shirt. So I've got trans arpeggios as merchandise at the moment. I'm planning to do some one-off prints that are going to be available through my website because I'm using Spreadshirt and I can't really control the pricing on there. So I try to pick the not the budget stuff, but the stuff that is reasonably priced because I know there's the Demis Hellen cap has just gone live. I've just ordered one of them to come through for this week. But yeah, Arpology. Good shout. When will you release your own music? You leveled up so much since the old releases that are on YouTube Music. Yeah, so I was explaining earlier, I am going to be releasing some music. That's my plan this year. Business just got in the way. It always does. I didn't know I was going to set up a business. I set up the website and started selling presets in 2019, just as like a little side thing to see if I could get that off the ground. And yeah, the shop took a lot of money in that first August I launched. So the rest is history. So I've been focusing, super focused on becoming the businessman, if it would, and just making sure that I'm providing the best service I can. And you can see it. You can see who I am on YouTube, and that's the same as I am with everybody behind the scenes in video calls and meetings and stuff. But yeah, I am going to be releasing some music, but I'm going to be releasing some music on SoundCloud that's not necessarily going to be released on labels, if that makes sense. So you can see some of the stuff that I've been working on in the background. Um, yeah, that's the only reason I exist, I think. To help people, and I'm helping people with music. It's just something I'm passionate about. So yeah, that is why I'm here, and I appreciate everybody appreciating me doing that. 4 layers used, and the most powerful lead you duplicate into mono. Okay, I think I know what you're on about. I think I've seen this technique, but it's sounding similar to how I do it, but just in a different way. I'll check it out. I'll check it out. Uh, I have FL Studio follow. I imagine I have followers from a lot of different workstations. Let me know now. What workstation do you use? Cubase, Logic, Ableton. But yeah, there's no reason why nobody can follow me that doesn't use Cubase. The techniques still apply, unless I'm doing something very specific for Cubase. But a lot of other doors have that as well. But yeah, welcome to the FL Studio followers, the Ableton followers, the Logic followers, the Reaper followers. Does anyone use Reaper? Studio One in there. I've lost track now of what I've said. Reason. I know there's a Reason follower in here. Yes, so Paulson, I was going to be doing some June 3 presets today in the stream, but the internet is stuck in the 90s down at the studio, so I need to have a word with the landlord to implement some upgrades to the internet. So I've got to sort that out so I can do proper live streams. But I was going to be doing some. I'm working on a Trans Essentials bank for June 3. So that is coming. Ableton, Logic, FL Studio. Audacity. I used to use that. I still do in some cases, but I've got Wavelab now, so I use that. Uh, Congratulations on the the Diva pack. Thank you very much. The MIDI is exclusive to the Diva pack, yes. All of the MIDI from the audio demo is in there as well, so all 40 MIDI stems. I wanted the pack, it got delayed, that the Diva pack. Serum 2 came out, and that took the limelight, so obviously I focused on getting stuff out for that. And then the Diva pack was going to be like my Uplifting Trance collection. It was going to be like 120 presets, 120 MIDI stems or whatever, and a project, but I'd have been releasing it next year with just the sheer amount of work that I had on around that Diva project as well. So I made it into a Trance Essentials. So if you're not on Patreon, there is going to be some presets releasing that didn't come out with the Diva pack. So there's going to be some extras available to patrons only. So that's where they're going to go at some point. But yes, the MIDI is exclusive to the pack. I make sure that the MIDI is different for each pack, and I make sure all the presets are new and not just carbon copies of other packs to fill it up. I try not. I'd say I try not to do it. I don't do it. Logic, Reaper is one of the best stores out there. Bitwig, yeah. So did use Reaper for a while. I can't remember why I stopped using it. I think it's just because I started teaching Keybase on here, and I just kind of left it behind. But yeah, Reaper is a cracking door. Logic, considering Cubase, they're very similar in their own ways, but very different at the same time with Cubase and Logic. So I think it's a combination of everything really, with computer speed. So um, I ran my projects off a Apple Mac M1 MacBook Air when my iMac died, and that had 8 gigs of RAM, and it had 128 gigs of space on the hard drive, and just the M1 chip, whatever was incorporated into that. So it was all very basic, and I used to run some of the biggest projects I've worked on, like my preset designing packs and stuff. The projects I use are massive, so it's not always down just to those sort of specs. I think it's just generally having a good CPU and having a good quality RAM, because obviously it can get slower and faster RAM chips and stuff like that. So with you being in the PC world, it's a bit different. It's been a long time since I've built a PC, as it were. But with if someone was buying a Mac, for example, I'd just say buy the entry level Mac still, because that's more than enough. I've got the M1 Max Pro uh, just because I need the extra graphic power for editing videos and stuff like that. So that's why I went for that. I didn't need it for the music production aspect because I was already running it off a base running level sort of one. But PCs, people tend to struggle a little bit more if you haven't got sort of a bigger one. But 32 gig of RAM should be good enough. It should be good enough, especially if it is a bit slower on the RAM side of things. Yes, I have done one-to-ones. I was explaining earlier in the stream that I am going to bring them back. Um, the workload was intense when I was doing them before, and I didn't want to commit to one-to-ones where I couldn't put my 110% effort into helping you, if that makes sense. There was a lot of work, a lot of business growth, and I had to ditch a lot of things actually then. Well, sideline, put on the back burner. So one-to-ones are coming back. Um, Tutorial series are coming back. I've done them for Born to Produce. I've done them for Cubase, but I want to do some for my website, which is going to be more in key with what I do on YouTube. So it's like an extension, so people can obviously buy into more information. So yeah, I do, but not currently. But I will be definitely before the end of this year. Is mastering overrated? Mastering is. I can't comment on it too much because mastering is an art in itself, and I'm no mastering engineer. But after chatting with a few people that do mastering and offer mastering, it is better to leave it to the people that know how to do it and know what they're doing and just have more experience with it. But I also know a lot of people that do the mastering themselves and they're not engineers. So it's not overrated, but I can't comment on it too much because I am no mastering engineer. I can give you that for free. But I think it's more about understanding your gear, whether it's plugins or whether it's hardware. It's understanding how music works, how it interacts in the real world, how your speakers reproduce the sound and stuff. There's a lot more to it, but having a good polished track in that aspect is definitely a must. So if you're not going to learn how to do some decent grade polishing yourself at the end of your production, then definitely look into a bit of mastering here and there, or even learn about it online. There's plenty of YouTube videos now. Yes, the best door is the door that you use and know. That is exactly what I've been trying to say. Definitely, um, it's the same with synths, and it's just the same with anything. Like, if you're a carpenter, your best tools are the ones you've got. You learn, you grow with them. So it's exactly the same. So even though if you if a carpenter gets given a free hammer or a free chisel, they're not going to look at that, turn the nose up it, and say, "I'm not using that. It's free." They're going to use it. They're going to take it on board and go, "Thank you very much for the free chisel," or whatever it might be. So when it comes to a synth, vital, take it. It's a great synth. It's a great sound. I've already proved that with the preset packs that I've made for it and the tutorials and the trans templates. It's definitely good. So yeah, it's as good as what you use. You've got to use and learn it inside out. When you first started, you wanted some one-to-ones. Did I not reply? Oh, that's embarrassing. Yeah, yeah, I have no answer for that one. Sorry, Paulson, I didn't realise. Um, the problem that I had is I wasn't expecting business growth. So when I was having, well, I was, but not as much as I had. I had everything going into one email, so things were slipping through left, right, and centre. And even to this day, like I'll come across an email and say, "Oh," so everything's been split now, so it's all separate emails, so I don't miss anything. So yeah, sorry about that, Paulson. I appreciate the support of the channel still, though, and it's great to that you got your releases and everything as well. I'm glad you got there and it didn't hinder you in any way. Yeah, yeah. As soon as I announce it, yeah, if you want to book a lesson, we'll get that sorted. I'll get working on something to get that up and running again. Do I get bored of trance? Kind of oversaturated? Yes, I have done. And that's why I think it's very important to listen to a different variety of music so you don't, in terms of producing videos and making music, yes, it can get quite a lot, and I do produce a lot of other stuff behind the scenes that you don't see, and yeah, that's not trance, to sort of break the monotony up. But I love trance, that's the difference. I Listening to music. I listen to Currently I'm on the group therapies. I'm working back through some of the above and beyond group therapies and discovering some new artists through there and new tracks. Um, I am heavily listening to rock music at the moment. Like, love rock music, especially the new Linkin Park album. Well, not all of it, but I'm liking the direction they're taking it. So having those breaks in between, it does help and it keeps your mind fresh. And when it comes to wanting to produce trance, yeah, sort of like refreshed your brain. And sometimes you bring ideas from these genres as well. No, I've not used Reason since they implemented VST structure into their door. I've been invited to a few seminars to sort of like overlook, like look what's new, what's coming up. But I've just not had the time to sort of join them, and they've always been at weird times of the day as well. So I've never got into it, but I think I will do because if I have the opportunity to teach a little bit of stuff on Reason, yeah, I'll do that as well. Um, always open to doing stuff like that. Before you go, you'd like to repeat questions. I missed the answer. Can you make a full song out of an ARP Series 4 episode 4? Yeah, I think this is what I need to do. I need to make some tracks that are finished. Because the arpeggio series, I'll make a slither or a cross section of a track just to give it some context, but I don't actually make the track. But you can hear that it could easily just flow and become a track. So yeah, I could do that. That's probably an idea. Maybe one of my videos where I make a track from beginning to end, sort of thing, like a live template, maybe. Photography, yes. That also took a sideline, a back burner. Photography and video work. So I'm a licensed drone flyer, and long story short, I was working with someone doing some work, but everything got hectic. They got their work building up on their side of it. My business was growing like crazy. It got busy, so I never ended up fully pursuing it. But yeah, we was doing photography work and video work for tourist places. I did a Northern Ireland one. I did. What did I do now? A little bit of housework. We didn't quite get into it. Drone filming quite expensive houses. That was quite scary flying around a expensive place. But yeah, I've done stuff like that. But photography is my hobby. That's what I use to break up my time. But plenty of photography stuff. Like I think my Instagram's still going. I just haven't posted to it for a while. But I might get back on that now. I'm sort of getting back into a nice pace with everything. Do I do offbeat tracks? Do you mean things that are not trance? Then yes, I do. Classical, chill out, down tempo, house music, hardcore. There's all sorts in there, and all sorts of weird little things in between. Yeah, I agree, Paul's, and that's what I was saying earlier. Any type of music. You've got to have an eclectic mix of music because if you're a musician, you appreciate all music in any of its forms, and it doesn't matter what culture it's from. It sounds good, it's good, in my opinion, and it's in the library. So it's just I sort of focus on electronic genres the most, but I do go into rock. I absolutely love stuff like Elvis Presley. I love all of the original blues stuff, like from way back. I love stuff like that because it's got that character, that energy, and it tells a story of the time as well. So yeah, it's always good to listen to other stuff. Um, hey, I'm not a Scouser. Definitely not. I'm a Northerner, but not Scouser. I smack bang between the middle of Leeds and Manchester. So no Yorkshire, no Lancashire, but you can hear both in my accent. But I've also trained myself to speak with a bit of a clearer, cohesive voice. As he tries to say that, he messes up. So the videos flow a little bit better. Hence, I've got so much work with other companies because my voice is a little bit easier to understand than some of my friends that I know. Put it that way, they've got very strong accents. So I'm Yorkshire slash Lancashire. It's all right. Yeah, don't have to apologise. Just not a Scouse. Even though I do a very bad Scouse accent, but I'm not going to spare you that one. But yeah, there's just finding out like how many people are from the north that are successful in the music scene, whether it is in the preset area, the templates, the music. It's really nice to see that there's a lot of northern love happening for the music scene. It's just, and I'd rather not be in London right now and places where it's obviously where a lot of people gather and be professional. I like to be out of the way and in the countryside. That's what I like to do. I can literally walk for 2 minutes and I'm in the middle of nowhere. I don't follow football. I'm not a football person, but if yeah, I wouldn't even know what to pick if I had to pick, if that if that makes any sense. Obviously, I'm local to Manchester. I'm local to Liverpool, local to Burnley, local to Accrington. There's all obviously I know there's football clubs and I know lots of people are going to be going up in arms, but yeah, I don't support football or any sports or anything like that. I play them, but I don't watch and I don't follow and stuff. Demis, yes. It was last night. I was about to hit 25,000 subs, and I did. I hit them last night. So I just said I'd do a live stream today. So I've been on for 2 hours and a bit. The original live stream failed. The internet down at the studio, the landlord's internet is 1990s. As soon as you do anything on it, it's just super slow. It's great for everyday tasks. You don't really notice it, but yeah, it was kind of a failed live stream. So I'm just chatting away here at home, chilling out with the cats. There's a cat there. Um, we have three kittens, which we didn't plan on having, so we went from one cat to four. Right. Can I get rid of that? I can. I've had that over my head all that time. But yeah, it's been really good chatting to you all. I'm gonna have to jump off, but if we want to do more live streams like this, we can do that. That's no problem at all. Hopefully, we can do it from the studio next time. We can actually do some work on the laptop. I can do it off the laptop here. It's just a little bit more faffy, resetting all the audio up. So yeah, thanks for joining Witch King and thanks for the support. Enjoy the rest of your day and whatever you're doing. Yeah, thank you for joining. I appreciate that, Paulson. Yeah, I like to have the balance of information and professional. If it getting the information across is much more important, but because I have the photography and film background as well, my head wants to appear professional in that sense. So setting up lighting. So like when I've got down to the new studio, I've struggled to find time to sort of rearrange the lighting and get it sat where I wanted. So I've done that now. Looks much better. But I just had a light in front of me and obviously balding as well. So it's not a great look. So I've kind of separated it out a little bit and looks a bit more cinematic is the word I'm looking for. But there's still a fair bit to do down at the studio in terms of getting it to where I want. But yeah, I appreciate that, Paul, and love. I do work on it. Yeah, thank you for joining Isotopia. I really appreciate you being here. And thank you, FB 1983. I appreciate you supporting the channel in whatever way you've done, whether it's commenting, liking, subscribing, all that stuff. I really appreciate it. It's all down to you guys getting to where I am. Do I make a living solely off music? Yes, I do. That's since 2019. I got made redundant in 2018. Rid of a messy redundancy, and I just looked at life and thought, this is what I like doing. Let's give it a shot. Let's try and make music my career. So I give it 6 months. That's all I give it. And it went well, but I still got a job on the side just to keep things flowing because I had to as well. And then in 2019, I didn't ditch the job. It just, they didn't require me anymore where I was helping. And I thought, right, 3 months, we'll give it a good shot and see what will happen. 2020 happened through the roof. The shop just took off. The YouTube started growing, yeah, and never looked back. So struggled. I've paid myself a very, very low wage whilst the business has been growing, and you've got to do that. That's how it works. But yeah, now much more comfortable, full time, and just absolutely loving it. Yeah. So it's not about the money. It's just about the thing I love doing. You just need the money, obviously, to have a house to live in and stuff like that. So, but yeah, full time YouTube courses, presets, merchandise, and third party work with the likes of Cubase, REFX, and stuff. I've done work for them all. You're welcome. Am I going to say I am Davido? Is that right? Thank you very much. Thank you for the time. Yes. Thank you very much for joining official TLM. Thank you, JC Tech. Yes, it's. I suppose that I've never talked about it on the channel, like where I came from. Essentially, worked in a very, very messy anodizing factory. For those that don't know what anodizing is, like MacBooks and iPhones or the old iPhones, they were like that shiny color. That's what we did. But the chap that run it is literally the best in the country. So we had a lot of work, and that took a lot of my time because I ended up learning the ins and outs of that, and sort of like sidelined what I were doing. But yeah, I'm out of the rat race, sort of, so to speak, and doing what I love doing. Thanks, Mez. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's fantastic. Hitting 25K. It's been a long time coming, but I was saying 2019, I hit 5,000, and we were all jumping for joy at midnight on January the 1st, 2020, before all the craziness kicked off, hitting 5,000. And then, yeah, it's just gone from better to awesome. 25. No, 25,000 subs on YouTube. I'm not 25, I'm 37. That's all right. Don't worry about it. I I would say thanks for the compliment, but then you said, but I don't look 25. But yeah, no offense taken. Don't worry about it. Um, yeah, I think I'm gonna jump off here because obviously I've got to sort the cats out. I've got to sort tea out. It's getting to that sort of time of the day. But I will try to do another one. We've been on a good 2 and a bit hours now. So I appreciate everybody. Thank you very much for the donations as well. I really wasn't expecting that. That's just something I didn't even anticipate, but thank you very much. And yeah, I will see you all in another video at some point. The Arpeggio series goes live tomorrow. Patrons are watching that right now. So if you want to see it, you can jump over there. Take care, everyone, and thank you very much for joining. And I'll look forward to speaking to you all again at some point. Let me know in the comments if you want to see another live stream. I actually enjoyed doing this, but I'm holding a phone and it's absolutely boiling. It's absolutely because it's plugged in, absolutely steaming. Right. Anyway, thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for 25 subs, and I will see you in the next celebratory video where we hit 50,000. See you there.